call to order now the November 16th, 2020 board meeting, and it is 6:32 p.m. We have no public comment submitted, and so we will move to our agenda. But first, we do have a letter addressed to the Board of Trustees that I'm asking Joanna Finland to please read to the board.
Dear Library board members, my husband and I recently visited Estes Park, as we have many times over the years. We love libraries and stopped in to admire yours. We've poked our heads in before, but didn't take complete stock of your wonderful library. We live in Lenexa, Kansas. The Johnson County Library System recently built a new flagship library in our area. I cannot tell you what a disappointment it is. It looks more like a Starbucks than a library. Clearly, the planners were more interested in creating interesting seating and little study nooks than in making a full-service, user-friendly library. There are a number of features that might wow the eye, but were not designed with any kind of functionality in mind. As we walked around your library, we were so taken with the flawless functionality you achieved while maintaining a very cozy and inviting feel. We loved the way your new materials are displayed and highlighted, and the way your periodicals are arranged. You have tucked your computers in here and there in a very appealing way. People can use the computers and have some sense of privacy, but they are still situated in a way that the librarians can keep an eye on them. The checkout area seems efficient and easy to use as well. You have a wonderful library, and I hope the residents appreciate what a gem it is. I wish the people planning our multi-million-dollar library had visited yours before creating the monstrosity that we will be living with for many years to come. My compliments to everyone involved in creating and maintaining the wonderful, inviting, and still extremely functional environment. Sincerely, Chris and Frank.
Thank you, Joanna. Thought that was a particularly nice letter. We don't often get anything in writing, get lots of comments from people that stop by, but thought you would all like to hear that. Okay, we will move on then to the consent agenda. Our consent agenda includes the minutes of the Board of Trustees meeting, October 19th, 2020, income and expense report from year-to-date, October 2020, and our study session of November 5th, which was our first of two public budget hearings for our 2021 budget. Can I have a motion, please?
I so move.
Bill moves. A second.
Second.
Beth seconds. Thank you. Is there any items for edits or removal from the consent agenda by anyone? I see no one seeking to do that. It's nice to have the recording so that our minutes can be captured so well by Joanna. We appreciate that. All in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
I think I heard everyone. Any opposed? Passes. Thank you. At this point then, I will turn the meeting over to our treasurer, David Hemphill, for our second of two public budget hearings on our 2021 budget. David.
Okay, thank you, John. Bear with me while we do our due diligence here on our template for this, but as treasurer of the library's governing board, I'm calling to order the second of two public hearings for the Estes Valley Public Library District 2021 proposed budget. The Library Board of Trustees will approve the 2021 final budget on Monday, December 14th at 6:30 p.m. The public was invited to provide comment during this budget hearing. The board as a whole will take comments into consideration as we deliberate the budget. Any person or group wishing to comment were asked to submit those comments in writing prior to this meeting. And again, Joanna, there were no comments, or I'm sorry, Claudine.
That's
Oh,
okay.
there were no
No comments, David.
Okay. If there were, the board would not comment on them and no action will be taken, but may give direction to the staff following the budget hearing. So the proposed budget has been announced in both newspapers and posted on the library website. The revised numbers are, in our version 3, is total revenue has not changed at $2,246,432. The total expenditures now proposed are $2,114,264. Expenditures are divided into 2 categories: services and support. Services include patron, youth and adult programs, and outreach and technical expenses. Service expenditures portion is $1,326,977. Support includes administration and building and capital expenses, and that portion of the budget is $787,287. Annual budget, which goes into the operating expense, the balance is $132,168. So at this point on our second meeting here, I will have Claudine give an overview of the line by line changes or adjustments that have been made since the first budget hearing.
Thanks, David. So I want to always begin by thanking Cindy, who goes through each line item with me to make sure we are at least in agreement before our public budget hearing. Just a reminder that the highlights document, version 3, is a continuous update of each version so that you have a reference and the public will as well once this is posted. Actually, Joe, it is posted, right? It's posted on the website now. So anyone watching can go to the library and go to the About and under About Us Financials to follow along. So the changes from the last version, David, we looked at on November 5th, we looked at the 2 scenarios the board asked us to review, and we went forward with version 3. So the changes now, effective today, November 13th, are written out, but I'll review them very quickly, which is, although the board did not say that a larger fund balance, a larger surplus was of immediate value, it is also true that I think I overstaffed in my initial effort. Until COVID is over, we will not be 7 days a week, 69 hours a week. So, and we won't be doing that beginning January 1. So we reduced one of the full-time 30-hour-a-week positions at the front desk. By reducing that, that's 25,000 plus another 25,000, a total of 50 for all the entire compensation package, our benefits. So that was a rather significant change and an impact into our fund balance. And this is Cindy's very clear language. Under all teams, under all services, we fine-tuned the benefit costs because, as a reminder, we're very grateful to the town, very grateful of Estes Park, who allows us to piggyback on their benefits negotiations and package. So when they clarify what their benefits are, we get to be a little bit closer in our budgeting process. So that's why with each iteration it changes. It's not that we're changing it, it's that we've hitched our wagon to the town star, and that's what it looks like over time. In administration, per board discussion, my salary was increased by 4%. That's something you can all discuss at length, especially when the compensation survey comes in at the end of December. We also, action you'll be taking later tonight, we hope, is the audit expense has been reduced from 15,000 down to 10,000. I really want to thank our insurance broker and Cindy Seckman's efforts just to get our liability and insurance costs, flood insurance, clarified. So that's a minor increase of $1,200. And the bottom line is that our surplus for this year, for 2021, currently shows an addition of $132,168, $132,168. Again, that might change based on that compensation analysis. This is Cindy's important note at the bottom. which is, and it is significant, that we are currently in the open enrollment period for the staff. And what that means is, as happens, somebody has a child and they're therefore under family coverage. Someone gets married, they're now under, I think it actually is still family coverage, or there are those who fall to just one, single coverage. And that has very dramatic impact on the budget. So all of these benefit costs assume no changes to open enrollment. We're such a small staff that, one person changing to family is significant, but it is within their compensation opportunity. So that is those are the budget highlights, Mr. Treasurer, between our first budget hearing and today.
Thank you, Claudine. I do want to express our appreciation for yours and Cindy's work during an especially tough year to come up with a budget. It's an extraordinary time to be doing these numbers. So at this point, we will go to any kind of board comment. I know that we have a few things to discuss on it, and it will change maybe at the work session, executive session in December. So does anyone have any comments at this point?
Anyone?
It's
Okay.
more of a question. On the expense tab, I think it was line 34, the strategic projects.
Hey, you need to speak up a little bit. I'm sorry.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
A little better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hold on. Is this better?
It
That's
is.
better.
Thank you.
Under the expense tab, strategic project, I believe that's line 34. It seemed to have gone up, and I was just, there were some notes to it. Can you just talk a little bit about what those strategic projects are?
Cindy, would you mind answering that one?
Not at all. Okay. What we have in there so far is the regular 2020 record retention project. We're meeting with Shelley later this week to actually do a human resource record retention project with us, so that we make sure our human resource or our personnel files are in order. We do have the compensation assessment currently listed. I'm not sure if we're going to get a pay for that by the end of this year or into 2021. I think that remains to be seen. And we are still definitely interested in looking for an EDI assessment.
Okay, so the compensation study, I thought it was expensed in 2020, but you think it'll be 2021 now?
You're correct, Kay. I'm
Okay.
sorry. And looking at it again, I have it listed, but I did put it in the 2020 estimate. So I need to make a better note there that 5,000 is for 2020. I apologize.
That's okay. I just wanted to, I wanted to understand that this wasn't something above and beyond.
I did add it to the 2020 estimate because we're
Okay.
really hoping that gets done.
Yep. Okay.
John, at this point, did you want to discuss a couple of your questions on things like the interest rate from Colorado Trust declining
Yes.
significantly during the year?
Yeah, I guess I haven't kept up with things very well if interest rates have gone down that much on the Colorado Trust.
Well, I for one thought that maybe they might, but the market has done better than was expected during this virus year. Cindy, have they given you any explanation, or have you just seen the numbers slowly decline during the year?
The numbers just have been declining through the whole year, literally month by month.
Yeah, but they've not really given you any reason for that. It's just they just give you the numbers.
Yeah, yes. Well, they provide a monthly newsletter. I guess I don't read it in detail. I probably should. I just record the rates. I feel like even in my personal life, the rates have gone down, and mortgage rates have been going down. So it's a trend that seemed expected, but they are quite low.
Thank you.
Well, Well, and you've reflected that in the 2021 budget, so tough to predict, but we have to be more conservative with what they are now, so.
Okay, well,
John, any follow-up on that?
just it was nice that over the last 2 or 3 years, couple of years at least, we finally started earning some decent interest. Disappointing that that's gone down, but I just wanted to make sure that that was really what was happening, that the interest rates on the Colo Trust had gone down that much. And I think Claudine answered pretty well the other question I had, whether for next year's budget, we've taken into account that we'll still be in COVID for probably at least the first quarter. And it sounds like you have with regard to staff hours and I guess other projects and so forth as well. Okay, those were my only questions.
Claudine, kind of a generic question. I feel you've dealt with the changes in staff appropriately. Do you feel though that the library will still be staffed to provide all the services that you hope that we can provide in 2021? Do you feel we'll be shorthanded? The library will be shorthanded, in other words.
David, I believe we're shorthanded if we were to attempt in the next 3 months to do what we set out to do strategically. I think we are in need of some middle management leadership, really, to get the teams able to do the kind of work we've asked, particularly around early literacy and collective impact through the community. There's a lot of different agencies, a lot of different nonprofits working towards the same goal, but we don't really have the people yet who are networked and will be networked to pull this off in a way that has real impact. So, David, I think that the 2 biggest hires we're going to have at the first quarter will enable us to move forward that way. The way I'd love for you all to think of it is Karen Randonidis has been more than a trooper, filling in as interim supervisor for outreach and programming, and we'll be posting that position, and we'll be posting some version of Mark Riffle's TS supervisor position. So those are 2 out of 3 of our middle management positions, and then the other jobs are mid-level, front desk, front line. So we have, I'll say it this way, David, if we go into orange under COVID conditions, if the county says we must shut the building and go to curbside, we're going to be a little overstaffed. So, we're trying to hit that sweet spot of being prepared to ride that wave, right, for however long that lasts without reducing our staff any further, but being ready within the first quarter. I'm not usually the optimist, but to be ready by the end of the first quarter to open up fully.
Is this the most significant staff turnover you've dealt with since in your time at the library?
You're not the first to ask, David. Yes, the answer is this is without a doubt the most significant turnover we've had. Still worthy of analysis.
It's interesting times.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, any other comments from anyone? Bill, Beth, anything you want to add or ask?
Nothing from me.
Me neither. Thanks.
So, go ahead, David. I'm sorry, you need to finish.
Well, just to do the formal closing, then, if we're done with the comments, again, we will finalize the approval of the budget at the December board meeting on the 14th and accept comments up until that point. But pending the executive session in early December on Claudine's performance evaluation, I think we're getting there. So again, thank you, Claudine and Cindy, for your good work on the budget. So I will now say that this budget hearing is now closed, and as I said, comments will continue to be accepted through December 14th.
Thank you very much, David. And I would just emphasize that if anyone has any further directions the staff with regard to the budget. Tonight is the primary night to do that, or you can communicate to one of the Finance Committee, and they will be meeting with staff in preparation for that final version that we will see. Anything, Claudine?
Yes, sir. I just wanted to remind the board that the county will be, remember, we usually get their first projections for revenue in August. This year, due to COVID, we received it in October. So Cindy really did hustle, and thank you, Cindy, and Finance Committee. The good news is the final revenue will be confirmed on time no later than December 10th. And they've always delivered that early to us. So, you know, under every year I've been here, the difference between the two official statements from the county have been very close in their values. I just think it's an unusual year. I just want everyone to take a deep breath, and, you know, we'll see what happens with that final projection of our revenue. But just a reminder, it's not official until we get that from Larimer County.
We will move on then on our agenda to strategic discussions and reports. From me, from Government Affairs Committee, I have started talking with individual board members, both current as well as our new folks, about possible responsibilities in the coming year. I hope I'm not too forward in the assumption that from the talks I've had with other current board members that you're going to want me to be the president again next year. And so I'm making that preparation for our January board meeting. If I haven't talked to you yet, I will soon. The other item I have is we're open for any suggestions with regard to our study sessions. Claudine has posted our meeting dates. In the past, we have had the first Thursday of 6 or 7 months for study sessions. Claudine and I will be discussing further possible topics, but if you have any that you want to make sure that we cover during study sessions, please let either Claudine or I know, and we will try to schedule those out, but we will not schedule them if there's nothing really pertinent and beneficial for us to conduct. One of the things that we always try to do, of course, is the circulation discussion, which will be a bit different for 2020, but that will probably be either, well, I would suspect this coming year we'll wait and do that at an April study session. And then we'll have our update sometime after the 13th month financials with our 10-year plan from the Finance Committee. So that has been in June in the past. If we can do it in May now with doing the finances internally, maybe we can do that at our May study session. We'll see. We'll wait and see how things progress. And then, of course, we'll have in the fall similar kind of sessions as around budget submittals and hearings. But in the past, we've also covered topics around training, around the Colorado standards and so forth. And so, again, please share with me or Claudine if you have any topics that you think would be helpful and beneficial as we progress as a board. Unless anyone has any questions for me, that's all I have to report at this point on government affairs. Oh, I guess I should congratulate our patrons and the citizens of Colorado for passing Amendment B, which certainly is from a government affairs standpoint, real positive for us and all special districts. So our planning and our forward looks, I think, can be a little bit better in the future. Okay. So I'll ask if the Finance Committee has anything else that they wanted to share on our reports tonight.
John, not a lot in addition to the action item. It's a good financial report in that the county revenue is almost 99%. As you were asking earlier, the interest on our reserve accounts is down significantly. And I assume we'll soon be receiving the donation from the Friends and Foundation here soon. So the revenue looks good. The expenses are a little bit down. The financials at this point, we're very fortunate, I think, as a library to be in the position we're in. The action item will be on the audit selection for performing the audit. Quick overview is that of all the proposals, we really only received 2 final proposals, but they were both good proposals. And we will have a recommendation, I guess, during the action items. So.
Okay. Anything, Kay?
Nothing additional.
Okay, we'll talk a little bit more about this year's budget year to date in Claudine's report. I asked her some questions and she's filled some of that in for our benefit. So we'll wait for that report. At this time, we have Annie Finley is not able to be with us tonight because it's their wedding anniversary. And so she submitted that, and I believe it's in your packet. I'll go through it real briefly. The end of year mailing went out November 1st for them. It's a great opportunity to support our library. The bookstore is forging ahead after the loss of some days due to the evacuations. We had a meeting together with Annie and Sarah last Friday, and they seem to still be receiving some pretty good income from book sales. So that's a positive. They're continuing their search through their nominating committee for a vice president for next year. That's a vacancy they have right now. They were able to fill their treasurer's position with a new board member. So they're actively recruiting for a vice president within their board. December 8th this year is the Colorado Gives Day. And for those of you who like to give through your credit card, that's a wonderful day to do it because many of the nonprofits here in the Valley don't otherwise receive donations via credit card. But Colorado Gives Day and that website allows you to do that. And hope that you'll take advantage of that opportunity if that's the way you enjoy and like to make your donations. And with that, I would give a reminder to the board once again that we are all encouraged to be donors and supporters of the Friends and Foundation. And it's important, especially when grants are filled out, that they can say 100% of their board and our board are donors. The amount, of course, is totally up to you. I would say that I did find out that their board has been given a minimum amount to give each year, which surprised me a little bit, but that's their choice and decision. They agreed to it as a board. And so we won't be doing that for our board, but I should certainly hope everyone continues to be a contributor and a donor to that organization that supports the library. Anyone have any questions on that?
John, may I ask a question?
Sure, I'll let you ask a question.
Are there any matching gifts out there, donors, for people who donate to the library?
As you know, you and I used to have the opportunity through our prior employer to have those matched. I think some others may have had employment where they would match. Unfortunately for me, for you, Pete, now that's strictly hours of volunteer service that they match. So I don't know about any other matching. I doubt if Cindy. Claudine, yeah. Unmute.
Pete, I don't have a direct answer to your question, but I do know that as a new board member, you'll be meeting with, after you meet with John and me for your orientation, and we tell you absolutely everything you'll ever need to know to be an effective library trustee. We then will be passing you on for a coffee date with the president and the director of the foundation board in order to brainstorm with you, to share with you what it is that they do. So that will be a great question, and just know that they're looking forward to meeting you.
Okay, Claudine, we'll move to your monthly administration report. Anything you want to highlight? Or you
Yes.
just want questions?
I will highlight this time, and I'm just going to work backwards on the written report since the bottom of the document is Annie Finley, the president's report. I wanted to just share with the trustees, the board of trustees, my appreciation for Sarah and Annie made a proposal to John and me that the four of us meet quarterly just to make sure we're moving in the same direction. And it may seem really simple to you, but my experience at the library right now and in this community is everyone's really working hard to do their best under COVID. And what I'm observing is all of us are inadvertently turning into silos, just as we try to keep our head above water and do well. So that overture meant a lot to me. And I do think it's going to help us to make sure we're kind of braided together in moving forward. Pete, I wish I could say that that was my idea. It was, their idea to say. Another way is, John and I, or Bill as the foundation representative, is we do a brief participation in their new board members, right? We're in their orientation. So it just makes sense. So I just wanted to say yay to them. And working backwards again, going to the ELL report. John, I think that was you who asked, but somewhere in a previous board meeting, a board member or more asked, what's happening with ELL outreach during this unusual time? And I hope that, so that's Gretel, who has provided this report. As you can see, it's 3 steps forward, 4 steps back. We're all doing our best. And here's what I will say. The entire program and outreach team understands that between the next 4 months, perhaps the greatest work we can do is networking and making sure that we're creating, been a lot of turnover in our local nonprofits and getting, and the public library. And it seems crucial to reestablish those connections so that we can remind ourselves of our shared goals and, if at all possible, our shared outcomes. I know this is that nerdy internal stuff, but it's just spinning our wheels if we don't have the same outcome in mind. So all of that is a way to say, whoever asked about the ELL outreach, I think this is indicative of all our outreach and program services, is we're really trying to say, who's my contact at that place? How can I meet with all of them to say, this is the outcome we want for that target audience? So the report itself says there've been a few successes. Most of those successes I would describe as outputs, right? But not necessarily outcomes. So that's the real work ahead. If there's anything about ELL, I'll do my best to answer it, but it might be better to have Gretel respond. So I'm going to keep, go ahead, John, please.
I asked specifically about the first item there, Mountain Home Cafe, since I eat lunch there after hiking ever so often. And I saw Gretel there, and I saw the books, the Spanish books. I'm really quite impressed with the effort that Gretel's made and the other areas that she's hoping to expand into if those folks will cooperate and work with her. I think that's great outreach in our community for that part of the population. So I'm glad she shared that with us.
Thanks, John. I will definitely share that with Gretel. I'm going to move on to John, who has asked yet another question, and you all get to do this, right? You all get to say, I'd like a clarifying, a little more information about that. And I'm going to practice saying, that's a great question, John. What do the rest of you think? So that I don't have 7 different, but perhaps you as a board can help me focus on what's important to you. With that said, the president did ask about, can you talk a little bit more about the budget numbers from October year to date? So I'm hoping my report says, the bottom line for me is the number of people who left when they left had an impact on the budget. The difference between our revenue and expenditures. And the other part, I thank Karen for this, which is the library does a lot of programming, but when you look at past budgets, we pay for programming too. We bring in content experts or performers, and those just didn't happen at the same level this year. So the last part is, John, I'm going to tease myself here and say, when COVID began really impacting the library at the end of March, I definitely took and said to the staff, I didn't use the word austerity, but that's the word I'm going to use today, which is, a little bit more temperance in our expenditures would be wise until we get the results from the county in October to know that we're as good as we hope we are. Well, we were as good as we hoped we were. And so now they have the burden of hustling to do some of that expenditure. We don't do zero-based budgeting here. But if any of you saw the email from Curtis today, it was an email to the community saying, hey, looks like we might be going into orange. I mean, he didn't say it that way. So let's try a little more curbside, and here's more access to our digital collection. So we'll still be expending in ways that we think will be valuable even under orange or red conditions. So, and then going up to the top, who am I to speak for Cindy? She's right here. If there's anything she'd like to highlight from her report.
Anyone have any questions? Or Cindy, you have anything you want to highlight? No? I saw you unmute, so I wasn't sure, Cindy.
Well, other than what's written, yeah, our county revenue is at 99%. That's fantastic news for this time of year. Expected for this time of year. The specific ownership is at 87%. And I think that's pretty consistent. That one doesn't come in as quickly as the property tax revenue. So if we could just get that interest rate up, we'd be in much better shape. And expenditures, like Claudine said, we all just thought, well, maybe we need to look at tightening our belts a little bit and see what's going to happen. And everybody did a great job of that. And so as a result, we are expected to have a bigger surplus this year, but trying to expend in those places that like the digital and curbside where we can help the patrons, and also early literacy. Absolutely.
I guess.
Thanks, Cindy. Sorry to put you on the spot.
Does anyone have any questions or comments with regard to this report? I guess I would just like to suggest or throw out there that with that lack of expenditure in other areas, it might be an opportunity and time to add even more in our hardback books and so forth. We have a fairly limited budget normally in that area. We try to increase it each year. It's hard, I know, sometimes for Kathleen to even spend all of the budget that we give her. But if there is the kind of requests or the books that are being published out there that we could increase our collection, maybe this year end is a time to consider doing. Just throwing it out. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. We are now ready for our action items then. Hold on just a minute, please. What do you want?
I think John has a bear in his house.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay, we have two action items. The first is the approval acceptance of the Finance Committee's recommendation for auditor for the 2020 audit during 2021. And I put out there some resolution. Okay, there it is. I will read only the resolves. Be it resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Estes Valley Public Library District as follows. 1, PBS, that is Prospective Business Solutions, is selected as the district's auditor for the 2020 audit during 2021, and be it further resolved that the agreed fee for 2021 will be $7,975 plus hourly fee for test of internal controls, and be it further resolved that PBS be retained until further decision by the Board of Trustees to select another auditor. I'd like a motion to approve this resolution.
If it's appropriate for me, John, I would be glad to.
Yes, it is. Thank you.
I'll
David?
second.
Bill seconds. Thank you. Any discussion? David or Kay, would you like to share anything on this selection?
Well, just that we don't appreciate Cindy enough. I congratulate her on her work. Put the bids out there. We thought maybe there would be more bids. 2 came in. Both were very good proposals. I think either one would have worked. Cindy did the research on both, checked references, and I think I was very happy with her recommendation of accepting PBS. And Kay, would you agree with that?
I definitely agree. I like the idea that they are specialists in the arena that we play. They are not all things to all people. That made me feel very comfortable going with them.
I also think there's a good chance of a more personal relationship with them to work together on these audits. So we were very happy with the recommendation of Cindy for this auditor. So I'll leave it to anyone else to comment.
Where are they located?
Denver area, what, Lakewood or
Was it?
They're
South Denver?
located in Littleton.
Littleton?
Littleton.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you. South side of Denver. Anyone have any questions or thoughts on this? If not, you can take that down, please, Joanna, so we can see everyone. And all in favor of the resolution motion, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? It passes. Thank you. The second resolution has to do with our governance policy set. This, you had the copies of these policies in the board package. I'll read the second whereas. Whereas the policy committee and staff have reviewed and recommend approval of the set, which includes the following policies: trustee bylaws, trustee duties and code of ethics, trustee standing committees, trustee executive session, public comments at board meetings, and naming rights. Therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Estes Valley Public Library District as follows. The Board of Trustees approves the recommendation and edits to the above named policies. Now I have a motion to accept and approve. Bill, would you like to?
Sure. I move that we approve these policies.
Thank you. And a second?
Second.
Was that Beth?
Mhm.
Okay, Beth, thank you. Okay. I'll call on the policy committee to make any comments.
Yeah, I mean, these policies are fundamental of how we work together as a board. And they go through a 3-year review cycle. And in past years, they have gotten a lot of work. So they were basically really strong policies. So there have been, really no changes to speak of in them. Do you want to add to that, Beth or Claudine?
Beth, nothing? So only one, in my reading, only one, the trustee executive session policy had any edits or changes. And that's primarily including in the policy rather than referencing the statute requirements of an executive session. Is that right, Claudine?
Yes, John, we don't get anything past you these days. You'll notice it's a subtle point in all of the policies at the bottom that it either says has been reviewed on this day, which is a way of saying y'all looked at it and didn't make any changes, or it's been revised. And the only revised policy is the one you stated. And that's based on a request almost a year ago from the board discussion that the executive session policy as it stands is pretty light and vague. It just reaffirmed the statutes around it. And now an average citizen or Pete, a new board member, can look at that policy and get an understanding of, why and how. So we want to be careful not to have too many procedures in our policies. There's a reason they're different, but these are a bit didactic and I support that. So thank you, Bill. Thank you, Beth.
Yes, appreciate that. I think this is much better to have it spelled out and stated right in the policy. That means you don't have to go look up the statute someplace. Anyone have any other questions or comments about any of these policies in this governance set? Everybody's happy with the bylaws and so forth. Okay. In that case, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of approval of this policy set and resolution, please say aye.
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 Heard everyone? Anyone opposed? All right, passes. Thank you very much. Does anyone have any new business that hasn't been on the agenda? Bring up. I see no one seeking that. So our upcoming trustee meetings, we will have an executive session on December 3rd at 6:30 p.m. via Zoom. The 5 strategic goals, objectives will be the primary discussion with regard to our discussion of Claudine's performance this year, the library's performance. That will be informal. You will not have, unless you request it, any paperwork to fill out, but I will be calling on each one to express their position and opinions on those. So please pull those up. You had a review of those at the last quarter report. On our regular board meeting, which is a week early, the second Monday of December, on December 14th, will be our regular board meeting. The primary topic there will be the approval of the final budget. Committee meetings will take place a week in advance. Normally it's the second Monday or Tuesday for the committees. This time it'll need to be probably the first, well, it may be the second. Not the second Monday, it'll be the second Tuesday. Anyway, have your committee meetings, Finance Committee and Government Affairs. The library will be closed for the Thanksgiving holiday. That's Thursday and Friday. Claudine, do you plan to be open on Saturday then?
We do.
10 to 2? Okay.
Mhm.
We're still closed on Sundays. And once again, I remind you, the Colorado Gives Day is Tuesday, December 8th. You can actually go to that site now and pre-submit your donations for them to actually take place on that day. The advantage of that is that whatever's given to organizations that day has, although minimal, it does have a match from, I forget the name of the organization, but the Colorado Gives Day organization, basically, out of Denver. So it's somewhat pennies on the dollar, but there is some funds that come into the organization that way. Okay, and with that, it is 7:23 p.m. and I will call our board meeting